Good news, Lions fans, only count them, 3 mock draft Mondays left.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's do this, everybody. Another week of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. Today is Monday, April 7th, and a Tuesday, April 8th. Thank you for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We really appreciate all of you that subscribe and watch us daily on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. It is a mock draft Monday. We're excited about that. We'll throw you a new mock draft. We'll talk a little bit about Josiah Stewart, whose name has come up a lot in circles for the Lions, probably not at 28, but maybe at number 60 if the Lions don't take an edge in the first round. We'll get into that coming up momentarily. Also, more on why Terrion Arnold switched from number 0 to number 6. It is a heartwarming story. We talked a little bit about the jersey numbers and the changes and all the fans that had Jahmyr Gibbs jerseys and Jamison Williams jerseys, but we'll talk more about Terrion Arnold coming up a little bit later on. We've got to update all the visits and who is coming to Detroit to have their top 30 visit with the Lions, as well as tomorrow is a local pro day where players that are high school guys from around here that played high school in Southeast Michigan, college players from Michigan Central, MSU, all of that are all working out tomorrow morning in Allen Park for the Lions. They're going to have meetings. They got to be there at 7:30 tomorrow morning. And one of those guys, Auburn linebacker Dorian Mausi, who played at U of D Jesuit High School, will join us tomorrow on the podcast. Dorian is a great young man, and we're wishing him all the best for tomorrow. We'll have him on the show, find out how he did tomorrow afternoon. Locked On Lions today brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Follow us, of course, on all social media platforms. We appreciate all of our everydayers that are out there that watch and listen to the podcast daily. If you want to be our call of the day, maybe we'll do one likely on Wednesday. You can go to www.speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. Leave a voicemail. Keep it like a minute or less. Keep it clean. And we'll play our best call of the day coming up on Wednesday on the show. Love our participation from all of you out there that follow the podcast. All right, so we got today, we got the 14th, and we got the 21st. 3 more mock draft Mondays where we do a mock draft on a Monday, talk about it, break it down, because we got the draft coming up April 24th, 25th, and 20. Wait a minute, today's 21st, so 21st, 22nd, 24, 25, and 26. We will be all over the draft. Lions, of course, not picking until very, very late in the first round at 28, and then, of course, at 60 in the second round. But always a good opportunity for Brad Holmes to kind of flex and do what he does best. Find me a better GM. And there's some good ones, okay? Howie Roseman's always been a good drafter. Eric DeCosta with the Ravens, great drafter. Brett Veach with the Chiefs has always been known to be a very, very good drafting general manager. But Brad Holmes is damn good. And the draft coming up later on this month is where Brad usually stocks up and just acquires very, very good and controllable young players that have gone on to be fantastic players for the Lions. I mean, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. The list goes on and on of Lions draft picks that have turned out very, very good because for years, all right, and I'm well aware Bob Quinn, the former named Maestro, as I used to call him, drafted Frank Ragnow and some others that have been decent, Graham Glasgow. But for the most part, the previous regimes here have Martin Mayhew, Matt Millen. Yes, I said Matt Millen. And Bob Quinn just have not been able to draft well. Brad Holmes, this is where he butters his matzah. This is where he's been fantastic in building this roster to the point where they've gone from 3, 9 to 12 to 15 wins. And a lot of it is homegrown talent and drafted talent. All right, so this week's Mock Draft Monday, we take you to the Draft Network at thedraftnetwork.com. Our man Keith Sanchez is one of the co-hosts of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. has his latest mock draft that he put out last night. Let's always, as we like to do, give you the top 5. Number 1, Tennessee's going to take Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami. I think everybody is on that. He has the Browns at number 2, rocking Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Lot of smoke right now in the 216 about Sanders going to Detroit. Cleveland, excuse me. Giants at 3. The Lions are drafting Shedeur Sanders. What am I doing? Abdul Carter at number 3, the edge from Penn State to the Giants. New England Patriots at number 4 would take the big tackle from LSU, Will Campbell. And then at number 5, slipping all the way to 5, Jacksonville, in the midst of yet another rebuild. The Jaguars would take Travis Hunter, the cornerback / wide receiver and Heisman Trophy winner from Colorado. As we look down this mock draft a little bit, we see some edge rushers. Jihad Campbell at 15 from linebacker from Alabama to the Falcons. Mike Green, the edge from Marshall, number 16 to Arizona. Jalen Milroe at 21, the quarterback to Pittsburgh. Jalen Milroe got an invite to the draft and will be in the green room. I don't get it. If somebody takes Jalen Milroe in the first round, they need to have their head examined. He's not good. But whatever, Pittsburgh at 21 would take him. Shamar Stewart, edge rusher, A&M, Chargers at 22. The big D tackle that I love, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, 25. Then you get to 28 in your Honolulu Blue and Silver Warriors, the Detroit Lions. And according to Keith Sanchez, in this mock draft, he has the Lions selecting at number 28. And remember, Green, Stewart, these guys are off the board. Donovan Ezeiruaku, the edge rusher from Boston College. We have seen this fit for Detroit before in other mocks. Keith writes, quote, the Lions pass rush has been reliant on Aiden Hutchinson, but for the Lions defense to take the next step, they need another high-end pass rusher. Donovan Ezeiruaku is one of the most naturally gifted pass rushers in the draft and should be a great complement to Hutchinson. If the Lions were to pull the trigger and take Ezeiruaku from Boston College, I would have no complaints about it. In fact, I would like it. We've discussed him in the past, mentioned him and brought him up on the show we did on Saturday as well. Ezeiruaku had 16 and a half sacks last year for Boston College. Does he fit the profile from a locker room standpoint? Absolutely. This is a tremendous young man. This guy can fit on any team. He's an awesome kid, great interview, great attitude, and everybody raves about Donovan Ezeiruaku. Only issue I have with him is that if he's on the board and Shamar Stewart's on the board, I think Brad Holmes is going to take Stewart because Shamar is just a bigger dude. Stewart is built like Levi Onwuzurike. He's built like Josh Paschal. He's built like John Kaminsky. And those are the kind of guys that I think Holmes would rather look at closely, that has some positional versatility. Ezeiruaku, well, I think he would be awesome, is more of a outside linebacker, edge, pass rusher type, like a James Houston, as opposed to a bigger body that maybe could swing inside on a third down for a different look. Do I think if Ezeiruaku's on the board at 28 and Stewart is not, that the Lions would take a look at him? I do. I truly believe that. But I think he just isn't the body type that a guy like Stewart is. Now, that's not saying that Stewart will be there at 28. It's not saying that the Lions don't like Nick Scorton or Stewart or Green or Jack Sawyer. We don't know. All right. The Lions are not going to tip their hand. But Donovan Ezeiruaku, I think, is a very, very safe pick at number 28 for Detroit. Interesting, too, that Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State, is taken in this mock draft, one pick ahead of the Lions at 27 by the Ravens. Egbuka today is visiting none other than the Green Bay Packers, and apparently had a 2-day visit in Green Bay with the Packers. So while the Lions have talked about adding another young wide receiver, Packers are in the market for one too. Christian Watson can't stay healthy. But remember, it was 1 year ago that Detroit's most hated man, host of Locked On Packers, Pete Bukowski, was telling us that the Green Bay Packers receiving core was like the greatest of all time, resembling the early 80s Chargers. Oh my gosh, our receiving core is better than Detroit's. No, I don't know about that, Pete. But now Green Bay all of a sudden is bringing a guy like Egbuka to town for a visit. That's the old HMMMM for that. All right, coming up next, I mentioned before about Josiah Stewart. That's a name that could be around for Detroit at number 60 if they don't get an edge at 28. We'll talk about the interest in him next right here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today is brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file away every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can just get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available, TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates, only an iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Great to be with you on another week of Locked On Lions. Dorian Mausi, former U of D Jesuit Cub linebacker, started his college career at Duke, was an all-ACC performer at Duke, and then went to Auburn last year and played his last year with the Tigers. He's going to join us tomorrow on the podcast. It'll be great to talk to Dorian. He was one of my former students when I taught for 3 years at U of D High. Good young man. And getting a chance tomorrow to wake up bright and early and be in Allen Park at 7:30 tomorrow morning for breakfast and meetings. And then he'll work out with the Lions as part of the Lions Local Pro Day, which will take place tomorrow. So that is kind of cool. Among the other guys, despite on top of Dorian Mausi being there, mentioned before Josiah Stewart, Maverick Hansen from Michigan State, Peyton Price from Eastern, Malik Carr, a tight end from Houston, Blake Daniels, a lot of kids from around here, Eastern, Central, even Griffin Milovansky, the kicker from Wayne State, will be there as well. All right, a name to keep an eye on is Josiah Stewart for Detroit. If, and again, big if the Lions don't take an edge rusher at 28 and want to take one at 60, could the former Michigan Wolverine be the guy for Detroit to grab at number 60? Stewart, of course, played 1 year at Michigan, was a transfer. And last year, I thought he was really, really good. If you watch, and I've mentioned this before, if you go back, he had 8.5 sacks last year. He forced 2 fumbles, 33 tackles, 22 solo tackles. If you watch the tape of the USC game of Josiah Stewart, you're going to think this guy is a second coming of Reggie White. It just seemed like in that game, every time USC dropped back to throw, Stewart was in the backfield. He just had one of those games where he was off the right tackle and he was explosive. Now, the knock on Josiah is not long enough and not tall enough. 6'1", 249. He is graded out by some. This is at NFLDraftBuzz.com. They've got him graded out as far as edge rushers go as the number 10 edge rusher in the draft, behind Carter and Pierce, Stewart, Williams, Scorton, Jack Sawyer, Green, JT from Ohio State, and others. They've got Josiah Stewart at number 10. I don't see Ezeiruaku on their list, which is interesting. But this is just a kid that gets it and knows how to play. And yes, he's projected to go late second round. So it would be a spot for the Lions. Were there some games where he disappeared a little bit? That was the knock. His measurables, his arm length, 40 time, he ran a 4.7 40, which was 79th percentile, which is good. But his wingspan and arm length, if you care about that stuff, affected his RAS score a little bit, as they say. But I watched Josiah Stewart at Michigan this year, and I saw a really good football player. I saw a guy that can get to the quarterback. I saw a guy that could hold on to the edge a little bit and force running backs outside and to the perimeter and out of bounds. He played on a team in Michigan last year that obviously was not as good as year before and had their struggles at times. But this is a kid with a really good motor and a really good attitude. And what's interesting about the Lions with Josiah Stewart is Josiah Stewart met with the Lions at the Combine. Josiah Stewart met with the Lions here in Detroit. One of their top 30 visits was Stewart. He has come to Allen Park already. And now tomorrow, Stewart will attend the Lions local pro day as he has been invited and he will be there. So this will be the third time that Detroit has seen Stewart face to face. So keep an eye on that. Again, the Lions have drafted players that they have not spoken with before. Remember, Penei Sewell, I don't think ever met with the Lions. Some of that was COVID. So sometimes they keep these things quiet. Other times it's a smokescreen. Who knows? But he is a guy that the Lions have gotten to know very, very well with 3 different interviews. So keep an eye on him. I mentioned last week that I was a little bit disappointed. You know, the Lions have had, and this has happened with not just the Lions, but other teams, but number shakeups where for the last few years, fans have bought jerseys of their favorite Lions. And the next year, that Lions player or that Chargers player or Ram or whatever. And a lot of this happened a couple of years ago when they made it legal for receivers to have single digit numbers and cornerbacks, et cetera, and even running backs. So last week we told you on Thursday, I think it was, Jahmyr Gibbs was changing his number from 26 to 0. Jamison Williams, who's wanted to wear number 1 forever, finally he's going to get that chance. He's changing his jersey from number 9 to number 1. And so is Terrion Arnold, who no longer will wear number 0. That'll go to Gibbs. But Arnold is going to wear number 6. Now, again, if you bought a jersey last year, especially because the Lions got new uniforms, and now you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And the Lions have not announced yet if they're going to do some sort of jersey exchange where you take it to Ford Field. Some of you live far away. Some of you that follow Locked On Lions are not local here and can't swap jerseys out. You spend good money on this stuff. So I kind of hate it. But with that being said, the story came out at the end of last week about Terrion Arnold and why he's changing from number 0 to number 6. Arnold played at Alabama with Kyrie Jackson, who, of course, died in a car accident this past July and passed away. And he was one of Terrion's teammates at Alabama. So Terrion posted on, I think it was on his Instagram over the weekend, Gone But Never Forgotten. And it's a picture of Kyrie Jackson, his former teammate and former Minnesota Viking. Quote, because I wanted my brother to live through me, number 6. So Terrion Arnold is going to wear Kyrie Jackson's number at Alabama, number 6, this season. So with all the talk of the jersey swapping and the number swapping and everything else, what is really, really cool is he's honoring his fallen friend who passed away in a car crash, Kyrie Jackson. So good on Terrion Arnold for doing that. I think that's kind of cool that he's going to wear number 6 and honor his former college teammate. So a nice gesture, certainly, and a good reason to switch out jersey numbers. What I'm hoping is these guys, especially because a lot of them are stars. You've got that Aiden Hutchinson 97. You know he's wearing 97. If you're going to get a Jahmyr Gibbs number 0 jersey, I think there's a rule. I think it's 2 or 3 years. You got to wear the same number. But hopefully these guys aren't changing numbers every 5 minutes. I don't think Jared Goff will ever. He's worn 16 forever. Sam Laporta wore 87 at Iowa. But I don't know. Just the old school in me hates that these guys decide after 1 or 2 years that they're going to switch their jerseys, because for many of you, and especially the Lions, you go to Ford Field, 85%, 90% of the crowd's in jerseys. You guys love these players. It's your favorite guy. Spend a lot of money on these jerseys because nothing's cheap these days. And then you got to swap it out or get another one or whatever is going to happen. So, but that's a cool story for Terrion Arnold doing that for his former college teammate, the late Kyrie Jackson. All right, coming up next, who has been in town? Who's come visited the Lions? We'll get into that coming up next because it is draft season and it is an opportunity for the Lions to bring in as many as 30 players to Allen Park for visits, workouts, and the like. We will talk about that coming up next. And we told you earlier, Locked On Lions today brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth, all right? I had a friend that started using Monarch and they realized just how much they were spending on like food delivery. Now they budget smarter and they save more. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared accounts and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Can you believe this, folks? We are just 2.5 weeks away. 2.5 weeks away from the NFL draft, which is going to be coming up April 24th, 25th, and 26th. So excited about that. Heck, we got Pistons playoffs coming up a week from this weekend. The Red Wings are trying to get into the playoffs. Tigers are playing well. So a lot going on around here. Very, very good stuff. And by the way, I was downtown on Friday for opening day, hence why we did the show Saturday, in case you missed to go back and listen or watch it. Downtown was just buzzing. It was fun. Ran into some of our listeners, as I told you last week, and people are excited. And the sports are getting better around here. It started with the Lions. The Lions were the trendsetters, and now it's all positive here around here. Tomorrow, I mentioned it before, Dorian Mausi, the former Auburn and Duke linebacker and U of D Jesuit High Cub, is going to join us on the show. He will be in town and working out tomorrow for the Lions for their local pro day, as they have invited about 15 guys that either played college here or are from here from a high school perspective, whether it's Spencer Brown, the big tackle from Oklahoma, is a local kid. I mentioned Dorian. Ali Saad from Bowling Green will all be working out tomorrow in Allen Park. So that should be cool. But as far as the top 30 visits, pre-draft visits, so every team gets 30 guys that they can bring in to visit their facility before we get to the draft in a couple of weeks. And a guy that the Lions have looked at very, very closely is Josiah Stewart, the big edge rusher from Texas A&M. He has been in to the Allen Park facility to chat with the Lions. Now, some of these guys talk and work out. Others, it's just a meeting. Another name to keep an eye on, I know Jeff Risdon brought him up a few weeks ago on this show, is the offensive lineman from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel. That's just a guy to watch because he could play tackle, he could play guard. If the Lions want to take an offensive lineman, and if they want to create more competition at right or left guard with Christian Mahogany or Graham Glasgow, Gray Zabel is a name to keep an eye on. I've not seen many people mock him to the Lions at 28. There have been a few, but that's a big fella that can really move bodies. And the Lions have spent one of their top 30 visits on him. UC Davis running back Lan Larison has had a top 30 visit, as has Josiah Stewart, we talked about, Chaz Chambliss, linebacker from Georgia, and Ruben Hippolyte, a linebacker from Maryland, have all made it in. This list, we've got to give props to prideofdetroit.com for putting this list together. Fadil Diggs, another edge rusher from Syracuse, who's a day 3 guy, has also had a virtual visit with the Lions. But what's interesting is the Lions have had a few visits with Josiah Stewart, but the one to keep an eye on is Josiah Stewart. You just wonder if that kid is going to drop right into the Lions' lap at 28, because it is possible. I've seen some mock drafts that have Josiah Stewart going as high as 16, maybe even 17 to a place like Tampa. I mentioned before that the Draft Network's mock draft had Josiah Stewart going 22 to the Chargers. Just, didn't have a great college career in terms of stats and sack numbers, but everybody thinks this kid's an athletic freak and is ready at the NFL level to, be a game wrecker and be really, really good. But Shamar Stewart is a guy to keep an eye on. But Lions have been pretty quiet so far on who they have brought in. And I'll do some digging with some agents that I know later on this week, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, and maybe get some more names of some people that Detroit will be bringing in. But again, at 28, it is a total crapshoot. And we talked about it last week. If the Lions somehow drafted a receiver at 28, I would not be stunned. They did a lot of talking at the combine about bringing another young receiver in. And if that's who they think is the best player on their board, they're going to do it. I know what the reaction is going to be for many of you. How could the Lions add a fifth receiver in the first round when you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, you brought Tim Patrick back? Why would you draft? They want to get younger there. And Jamison Williams is likely going to be here for 2 more years, and that's it. You can't pay everybody. Brad Holmes admitted a guy like J-Mo going into 2027 could be very expensive at over $30 million a year. And if you got to re-up Aiden Hutchinson, you got Kirby Joseph coming up after this year, you cannot keep everybody. Saw that last year when Jonah Jackson walked. Lions like Jonah, but they weren't going to pay him what the Rams paid him. And now, of course, Jonah Jackson is on the Bears. So, all right, that'll do it for this Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Appreciate all of you that check us out daily right here on Locked On Lions. Again, tomorrow, find out how it went for Local Pro Day with Dorian Mausi, linebacker from U of D Jesuit High School, and Duke and Auburn will be our guest tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Come back and see us tomorrow.